to the January meeting of the Lents Neighborhood Livability Association. Thank you all for coming. And thank you to the Community Connection Center for giving us a new home for our meeting. Our guest speakers tonight are Howie Miller from Fort Kennedy and Ryan Johnso, I hope that's right, from Community Connection Center and Neighbor to Neighbor, and Nancy Shannon from Keller Williams Realty, Portland, Lee. So we'll kick things right off with Howie. Not your lips are mouthful, sorry.
And I've got some of those on the table, Howie.
Do you?
Over here, yeah, they're up here.
Up there, and I
Okay.
need more business cards.
Oh, I got a pocket full of them. So, I like to stand when I talk to them about that military training, so if you don't mind.
That's all right, we can
That's
hear you
quite
that
all
way.
right. We'll hear you better.
I'll try to use that Sergeant Miller voice.
Okay.
So, I don't know that I've met all of you people, so what I'd like to do real quick, so I'm going to put these over here. This is all of the services we provide, and this is the dates and times that we do it. And the reason I want you to have those is because some of the things we do, you may run into people that could use our services. But I want to back up a little bit and talk a little bit about Tina Kennedy, who is the person that about 4 years ago quit her job at Clackamas County. And the reason she quit was they had asked her to go out and find all of the homeless veterans in Clackamas County. And that came about because she kept needling people she worked for. What are we doing for the vets? What are we doing for the vets? So they gave her this task, and I think it's on YouTube. You can actually find a documentary of her doing that. Stomping around in the bushes, wearing her rucksack and her boots and kicking on the tents and, hey, are you a vet? And she brought him back a number. And she asked, okay, now this is how many we have, what are we going to do for them? Oh, well, we didn't plan on doing anything, we just want to know how many we had. Didn't sit well. Fast forward, she was sitting around talking with a friend of hers and sat down, and I think is there a picture of it? Yeah, on the top of this, it's kind of hard to read. We have larger versions of this, but this is a map. This was her dream, to build Fort Kennedy transitional housing. Okay, and the idea is with transitional housing, if you're homeless, we operate under the premise that homelessness breeds poverty, not the other way around. If you're homeless, try to get a job. Nobody's going to hire you if you're homeless. You need an address. You need a valid ID card. You need something to prove who you are. And like when I work for Portland Public Schools right now, driving a special ed bus, and I had to prove to them who I am and where I live. In fact, we're trying to hire someone that's homeless right now. Qualified person, but with no address. It's a nightmare. So the idea was, well, let's find a place where we can put tiny homes. And she went out and beat the bushes until she got Home Depot. She had an architect who actually drew up the plans. We had architectural designs. Everything was dialed in. We had materials, we had labor. Home Depot was going to supply materials. The National Guard was going to do the dirt work. We had plumbers and electricians. Everybody was on board. She went to the county, Paul Savis advocated for her, and they asked her, how much do you need to run this? She says, if you give me a piece of ground where I can put the tiny homes, that will, everything that's part of putting them there is paid for. All I need is $300,000 to run it. Board of Commissioners said, you got it. Until someone at HS3 or H3S, whatever it is, Human Services for Clackamas County said, wait a minute, you didn't put this out to bid, you can't give her the money. And you can't give it to her because that was a conflict of interest because she was, at the time, was still a county employee. But what they did do was give it to another county employee. And that's what that little mess is over there on 115th, and I didn't say anything derogatory about it. 115th and Jennifer, I don't know if any of you have ever seen it. There's a, not far from where I live in Happy Valley, just off of 172, a pick-a-thon or something like that, music festival they do every summer. Lasts 3-4 days, right? So a couple years ago, some PSU students, architecture students, built these kind of like truss things, and they made all this stuff out of it and everything. And then when it was all done, they donated them to this guy. So he got the materials for free. The county gave him a piece of property to put it on. And they spent $1.6 million. And what they have is 15 little pods you can sleep in with no heat, no light, no water. It's just not much bigger. The bed isn't much bigger than one of those tables. And it's plywood with a foam rubber mattress on it. And I bring all that up to tell you what it is we decided we needed to do. The veterans out there that want to get housed in that place have a very difficult time because there are barriers. Some of the barriers are you were in the Guard and Reserve and you never did active duty time. You didn't do 180 days of active duty time. So you get no benefits. You never deployed, you didn't go to school long enough, whatever it is. You got hurt after 3 months and they booted you out. No benefits for you. You get nothing. When you come to Fort Kennedy, if you could prove to us you raised your hand and you served 1 day, you belong. You tried. Now, admittedly, some of them didn't do so well. And and you see them out there. You see the guys on the side of the road. They're out picking up cans. They got their signs. A lot of those people are vets. They're doing whatever it takes to survive. So what we provide for them is a place where they can come and they can get what they need in one place. We're a group of nonprofits that provide things like haircuts, shaves, a shower, an attorney, housing. Oh, you'll love this one. The VA now comes and uses our facility to teach classes. They put our classes rent-free. We supply that space. We supply space for the county, Multnomah County, Clackamas County, and the VA housing specialists. They come to us. We have an attorney on staff who works for them pro bono, okay? So our goal of building a transitional housing complex where we can bring them in, we can get them clothed, we can get them fed, we can get them drug and alcohol treatment, PTSD treatment, all of those things. We do a lot of that now. We get them housed, but it's a process. It's a long process to get this done. We've never given up our dream of having a piece of ground where we can put our tiny homes, where we can give them an address, where they can feel like it's their place. It's like their own little home. Right, and so what we do is we engage them in activities that bring them back into the community because they're ostracized. They're not treated well. And we see some of them that have very serious mental health issues and should not be out there alone. But our society has decided that if we can't prove you're not a danger to yourself or others, then too bad. We're not going to house you. Some of the other barriers that we need to address are, besides the substance abuse and drug addiction and all of that, sex offenders. Some people get really nervous about that, and I understand that. But it's important to understand that many, many, many of the veterans we see who have this issue haven't offended in 15 or 20 years. Some of them, it was the person they married, stuff like that. And in Oregon, there is one advantage for them to be in Oregon. If they can come to Oregon and show that they've completed all of the steps required and the amount of time required, they can get that requirement to register as a sex offender removed. And when that happens, the barrier to housing them is lowered, because now they don't have to divulge the fact that they're a registered sex offender. Okay? I know some of these guys, and the one guy's like 80 years old. This happened 40 years ago, and they won't let go of it. It's out of control in some circumstances. In other states, it's even worse. They have worse problems, and when you start looking at the things that go wrong with people's lives, and you say to yourself, what can I do to help? That's what we do at Fort Kennedy. What can I do to help you? When you come into my center, I'm going to shake your hand and I'm going to say, hi, how are you today? Have we met? Who are you? How can I help you today? That's what I'm going to do for you. That's what Tina's going to do for you. That's what Carol's going to do for you. All of our other volunteers. We want you to come into our facility and feel comfortable, feel safe. We have a PTSD counselor that's there almost every day. Wednesday nights he has a forum, it's kind of a faith-based, very much a faith-based group meeting. They have a little meal. We have a group of ladies that provide some of the meals. And then they have their meeting. And we have an AA guy that comes in every Monday, puts on a meeting. So what we're trying to do is bring them back into the community. We have a tagline, a saying, Haven. We're trying to create a haven, helping all veterans experience normalcy. That's what we want to do for them. We want to help them feel normal again. If you can feel a little bit of normalcy, a little bit from me, a little bit from you, a little bit from someone else, and you keep coming, and every time you show up you feel that, pretty soon we see attitudes and behaviors start to change. And we're not professional counselors, we're just people that care. So I did make some notes today that Tina wanted me to cover real quick, and I probably forgot them. Doesn't matter, I think I got most of them. We do fundraising, that's one of the big things we do. We partner with many nonprofits, and especially the veterans organizations, American Legion, VFW, Elks Lodge. Then and I have to put it out there, Cross Point Northwest. Anybody here not know who they are?
What is it?
The building we are in is part of Cross Point Northwest Auto Auction. Every Wednesday at Johnson Creek and Bell Road on the northeast corner, there's this huge complex there, huge building, cars everywhere, right? They have an auction there, and the dealers come from all over the Northwest. And some come to sell cars, some come to buy, and they facilitate that. And if you've never seen one of these things, it's amazing. This place, they can do 8 cars simultaneously, side by side, 4 in a row. And if you're there to bid on a car and you're standing next to that car while they're talking about it, that's what you hear. And if you walk over to this car, that's what you hear. I've never seen anything like it before in my life. Those fellas, Norm and Brian, are the sons of a Vietnam veteran who had severe PTSD, and he lived upstairs in that building we're in until he died. And after that, they were looking for something to honor him, some way to do something for veterans. So Gary McAdams, who is a past president of Vietnam Veterans of America, and Tina went to them and asked for an office. They were going to share an office space to start Fort Kennedy and have VVA, a place to work out of. And they decided that no, they couldn't do that, but they would give us the entire floor. It's 5,000 square feet. We don't pay any rent. We don't pay utilities. We don't pay maintenance. They provide all of that. It's huge. We would not exist in the form we're in without them. So it's important I express to you how grateful we are to them and to the other benefactors we have. Fido, if I call Fido and say I need grain-free dog food, I'll have it that day. Neola has helped us recently with, just escaped me,
Chewy.com.
Chewy.com. They're going to help us now.
For 2 years.
2 years. The LDS Church. I got a packet in the mail. I've been going back and forth with them a little bit. And I got a packet in the mail with vouchers. They're going to support us. That came all the way from Salt Lake City. And I think they're $25 vouchers where we can take them over to the Deseret Industries on Southeast 82nd and they can get what they need. Up to $25 worth. Well, it's like going to Goodwill. I mean, stuff's pretty cheap there. They are also going to provide us with some food. Amen, has anybody heard of Amen? All Military Encouragement Network. These folks are amazing. They're right next to where that little Veterans Village is. That's just coincidence how they ended up there. But what they do is they provide meal boxes to National Guard and reservists all over the state. They load up trucks and they take off and they take them to those guard centers and they drop them off. And so, because so many of the young troops will not ask for help. So they just take it to them. And they partner with us. They provide us with a certain amount of stuff as well. Frozen food oftentimes because we have freezer space now. So people donate. We've got 4 freezers. I mean, it was amazing. We have a lady that cuts hair. One Love is our laundry people. So we do all these things to try to get these veterans in to where we can house them. And you had asked me for some numbers. Mm-hmm. So I don't have today's number, but I can tell you that on June 1st, we had 485 active clients. That was 6 months ago. It's far more than that. We have housed or helped to house over 100 veterans or veterans' families. That was by June 1st, so that number has grown as well.
Do you have any services for housed veterans?
Yes.
Like the drug and alcohol type stuff, maybe?
Well, what we do is there's one thing called CODA. Okay, and we can get them referred to those. Okay, if they need those kind of treatments, we know where to take them. Okay, there are different facilities where we know to send them. We pick up the phone. We can call TPI, Transition Projects, Do Good Multnomah, Clackamas Service Center. It's interesting to watch. When I first started, the reason I showed up was because of one of the nonprofits that supports Fort Kennedy. Is called CVMA, Combat Vets Motorcycle Association. I was a writer, still am. And our chapter commander, Tommy Beans, kept, Howie, you need to go see Tina. You need to go see Tina. I don't know why he knew that I would fit, but it's worked out real well. I'm very comfortable there. I'm very happy there. I think it's a good working relationship. And we're growing. We just managed to get our very first grant. The very first one I ever wrote. I got $10,000 from Clackamas County. Now we have a van. And we're going to start doing outreach to Canby, Estacada, wherever we can go to go find the vets that are being ignored, that don't get anything. Right now, we're servicing on a daily basis anywhere from 8 to 40 people. From the time that KGW showed up and did a little story on us, up until just last week, it was standing room only in there. It was so crazy. I don't know how, we still have not been able to put together the numbers of new people that we've seen. The homeless veteran count is about to happen. And Tina she writes herd on that real closely because Clackamas County has a habit of changing the number of homeless vets. So she's there to bird dog them to make sure they get that number right. So, I'm trying to think of any other numbers that might be useful to you. There's one that we struggle with, and it's the number of consistent volunteers. And there's many reasons for that. Like me, I have a job outside of Fort Kennedy. So I go in the morning, I get up at 4 o'clock, I drive the bus, I get in my car, I drive over there, work 3 or 4 hours, get back in the bus, and so I'm doing a lot of times 14-hour days. But it's a labor of love for me. I enjoy doing it. I like being a part of their lives. Sometimes it's a little scary. I won't sugarcoat that. Some of these people have serious issues. And that's one of the reasons we need volunteers. We're not open on weekends, and we're not open on Wednesdays. We're open from 9 to 3, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. We need people to come in and help us take in the donations and sort food, clothing and food, and put everything away and clean toilets and whatever it takes to run a center like that. We need that. We need volunteers we can call up and say, hey, we've got an event coming. We're planning an event. Will you help us? Will you be there for it? We're going to have usually in May, we have a fundraiser. It's our second largest one. And the last couple of years we've had it at Sidelines on McLaughlin. The only downside to that is it's not kid friendly. So we don't get as good a turnout as what we normally would. So we're looking for a new venue. We're going to try to talk to the Bomber Restaurant, see if we can get them to help us out.
Do you use some of the veterans that you help?
Yeah.
Do you have them come in and volunteer on occasion?
We
busy,
can't,
or?
well, we cannot require them to volunteer,
Oh, yeah.
but they do.
If
They
are.
absolutely come in. Thank you so much. I need to pay it forward. I need to, show my gratitude for what you did for me. You helped me get, there's a number I forgot related to that. We don't just deal with homeless people. We deal a lot with people who are about to be evicted, okay? And there's a process, a pecking order of where they need to go to get help, okay? And we're like the place of last resort. They go to TPI, they go to the county. If they're one from Oregon City Police Department actually has money for homeless vets. They don't know how to spend it. We're trying to help them. But so when they get to us, they come in, we have a conversation. 2 of us actually interview this person that's in trouble. We figure out what the issues are. How did you get to this place? What do we need to keep you housed? It's far, far cheaper to get their rent paid than it is to get them into a new place. So there are programs that the counties have, the VA has, for homelessness prevention and rapid rehousing. Families are at the top of that list. If we've got a family that's been evicted, they're on the street, there's programs for those folks, if they're the right kind of vet. So that's where we have a problem with the right kind of vet. Our barrier, like I said, is very low for that. I think I've covered pretty much everything I wanted you to know about, to think about, whatever. So if you've got any questions for me, I'd love to answer them.
Nobody?
Nobody?
So
Yes.
I just think that it would be a good idea to try to encourage you to speak with Coin 6 News to get an interview with them.
They were supposed to be here tonight.
They were?
Yeah.
I didn't know they were going to be here.
Yeah, that's why I wore my best jeans.
You stayed home. Oh, no.
I'm a working man,
Yeah. But I mean,
No.
they are helpers.
Yeah, and I would love to meet with them in a heartbeat. I would, KGW really did us a great service.
How long ago were they there?
December,
No, it was in October, wasn't it? It was before Thanksgiving.
was it?
Yeah, it was before Thanksgiving because it exploded right before Thanksgiving. We were trying to put together numbers, okay? At Thanksgiving, Amen through, I believe it was Safeway, grocery outlet, some of them. We got like 200 turkeys and meals, everything to go with the meal. Everything. And our volunteers showed up and we built these boxes of food and we loaded people up and went out. We have a list this long of families we work with every year. And we delivered all those meals. And KGW had shown up before that. And so we're in there, we're trying to put all these things together and get them out the door. People are showing up with clothes and shoes and sleeping bags. Oh my God, please, it's a great problem to have, but not today. So we did go through some of that. That is now that the holidays are over. People are getting back into their routines and stuff. So this is where we struggle, trying to get people to please come in. Please come to my center. Come see me. I want to give you a tour. I want to show you what it is we do. I want you to see some of our clients. It's one thing to see them on the street. It's another to see them sitting at my table talking to each other, talking to us, waiting to talk to the attorney. There's a line to get a shower. I need clean clothes. I need some food. Okay?
Howard, what medical facility do you guys use when they come in and need mental health? None?
Mental health's a little different. We use, if they have VA benefits, that's our first go-to.
Okay.
There are other avenues we can pursue. We typically, when they walk through our door, we don't see someone in crisis.
Oh, okay.
We don't usually. There have been a few that have some issues, but typically the VA is our number one thing. That and military one source. We can pick up the phone and say, "I've got a vet. He's here with me right now. This is his status. This is his issue. Where do I take him?" And they're amazing. They really do a good job. Thanks to your tax dollars. Okay? You guys support that. It's one thing they're getting right. Now, I do want to explain one other thing for you folks that live in Oregon. Anybody here from Washington? Probably not. You're all from Lents, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk real quick. I'm going to paint you a picture. Washington, D.C., lawmakers, Veterans Affairs. We have $20 million. Going to split it out between the states based on what we think their military population is. Okay? So, across the river in Washington, the state gets the money. And they have a director of military affairs. I'm not sure his exact title, but that's what he is. Military affairs. Okay? And under him, at each county, there's the Department of Veteran Services. That's where the money goes. To all of those people who are veteran service officers. Okay? Now let's go to Oregon. Notice I'm going to the left here. State gets the money at ODVA, Oregon Department of Veterans Affairs. That guy's here. And underneath of him are this many other people. All begging for money. One of them is Veteran Services. So what he does is, he says to the others, if you want some of this money, you've got to come up with something to make it look like you're doing something for vets. And that's where the money goes in Oregon. They get about 1/10 of what they should. It's not right.
So, I have a dumb question.
Nope.
But commissioner, which commissioner?
How do we fix that?
Huh?
How do we fix that?
that?
That is
Yeah.
Oregon legislative. What that would take is
A new mayor.
Not a mayor.
No.
This is,
Higher up.
you gotta go to the governor and say, Mr. Governor,
Miss Governor.
Mrs. whatever. I don't like that lady.
I don't know what she's identifying as. It's Oregon.
Yeah.
That's right. Say, look, Governor, we don't like the way you're treating our vets. And it takes a lot of noise. A lot of noise. A lot of people have to get organized to force the Oregon legislature to say, we're going to reorganize how these departments are run. Every veteran dollar comes in the door, goes directly to veterans. It cannot go to TPI that has civilian side, veteran side, this much of the veteran money, this much of the veteran money. And that's how that works.
Yeah.
So you have to be willing to stand up and make a lot of noise. Okay? So that's just one of those things that the bureaucracies that we have to struggle with. There's another problem with us, our dream. We're not giving up on this dream of building this transitional housing. But here's part of the problem. It's illegal in Clackamas County to put tiny homes on a piece of property unless it's a county-owned nonprofit.
And you don't belong to the county.
No. That didn't happen until about $300,000 showed up that wanted to go to Fort Kennedy. So, gotta make some noise.
Tina mentioned the figures that Clackamas County had for how many homeless veterans they had. Can you run through that?
I know that what happened was she came in with a number like, let's say, 337. They said, no, we have 57. The disparity was glaring.
It seems like they started out at one, but they could only find one homeless veteran.
Oh.
Yeah, it was something like that. I mean, you get the scale of it anyway. It was, so she goes nose to nose with those people still. On the, I think it's like the third Tuesday of every month, down in Oregon City, there's a meeting called HVCT. And it's all about veterans, okay? Now, the county runs that meeting, but you need to know who started that meeting. That was Tina. She pestered him and pestered him until they got all these veterans reps from all over the place in there. There's the police officer, there's parole and probation, there's Multnomah County, or Clackamas County, sometimes Multnomah County shows up, Transition Project shows up, Easter Seals. Tina brought all these people together, but after a while she couldn't take it anymore, and that was the genesis of Fort Kennedy. But she still goes to those meetings.
And the other thing I thought was interesting is that all along Clackamas County has been getting federal dollars to take care of veterans, and it was all going to low-income housing that wasn't for the veterans.
Yeah, that's
They found other places to spend the
This is
money.
how they spread it around.
Yeah, because they didn't
But
have enough
we're building some
veterans.
veteran housing. Oh, really? How many units you build? 47. How many beds you got? One.
Right. Yeah.
It's. I'm exaggerating, but not by much. Okay. Do good Multnomah. Okay. You ever heard of them before? They have a shelter, a nighttime shelter, about 58th and Sandy. They started off at 20 beds, and it's gotten up to about 45 beds they have for vets. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe they're affiliated with Catholic Charities. Okay. Now they get millions of dollars. Do good Multnomah does. So they decided that because it's winter and it's cold and it's wet, they were going to get another 15 or 20 beds, whatever it was, for couples or whatever, let's say, okay? Not necessarily veterans. So now what you've got is like 60 vets and 15 people over here who do not have the same issues. Yes, they're homeless, okay? That's really all they have in common. The veterans, well, they don't always get along in there. They understand what the program is, This is for us, and as long as we play by the rules, they won't throw us out. So the facilities are limited. The men have to be out by like 8 o'clock in the morning, whatever. I think the door opens around 8 o'clock at night. They gotta be at 8 o'clock in the morning, right? Very limited bathroom facilities, blah, blah, blah. Well, these men are used to running around trying to get dressed, running around in their skivvies or whatever, and all of a sudden these women come walking in. Time out. Not cool, not cool.
Yeah.
So they're having some growing pains, but what happened with the Veterans Village was Clackamas County had this guy build it. Not run it, just build it. 1.6 million. Your tax dollars. Yeah. Yay, property tax. They didn't use veterans funds to do this. They used tax dollars. So they decide that they're going to give the $300,000 that we originally talked about to Catholic Charities. Catholic Charities says, whoa, time out, we'll take the 300 grand, but we know nothing about working with vets. So they went to Do Good Malone. If we give you the 300 grand, will you run that place for us? Sure. Hey, Tina, we're going to get this $300,000. Will you help us run it? No, not happening. That's not going to happen. Not Tina's lifetime. But that's really all I've got, unless you've got more questions for me. I know you've got other business. Neil, sorry.
Well, a couple of things. Any donations that you make is tax deductible, so you just take it in there with your receipt. If it's something that's gently used, they will take that as well, and they make sure it's all clean before anybody comes in to get it. I at first thought, when you say veterans, I'm thinking men. There are also some women with children. So they have one room full of kids' clothes from like infant on
About
up.
14.
Yeah. And I know there's a couple of really good bakers in this group. And I'm sure
Speaking
they
of
would be
which,
happy to have you bring in some sandwiches or
we have
some
a,
baked goods.
yeah, we have one family that helped us out, the Crafts. He's an Air Force veteran. And she's on a mission. She puts him through the ring every Monday. She shows up with these big, you've seen them, the like sour cream, cottage cheese, the big plastic tubs. She'll bring in some of those, frozen, some of them. We throw them in the freezer and we fill. During the holidays, we were going through 3 crock pots full of soup a day. But they come in hungry and cold every day. We can always use hot soup and sandwiches, always. So if you're so inclined and want to do that, you'd love it.
Howie, Neola was mentioning that you have, I don't know if it's yours or it's that Do Good Multnomah, but there is some shelter that you guys know about where you can send them to that has available, it sounded like they
It's
were
Do Good.
Oh, is it Do Good? Oh, okay.
That's our go-to normally.
Oh, okay.
Now, if we can't get them in there are other places we can try.
Oh, okay.
But that's usually where we start.
Okay.
We have a good relationship with those folks.
Okay.
But there are several of them, so.
Do you guys have any involvement with the homeless drug addicts by any chance?
Every day. Every day. I was working with a guy today. He's only been in a couple times. First time I saw him, he came in, and then the showers, and clean clothes, and some food. And he has a little bit of an income. A lot of them have some income. VA disability usually. Sometimes it's Social Security, whatever. And they'll have a little bit of income. But they struggle with addiction. And so the VA is a big help with that because they come in on every Friday and they put on a couple of classes. Footsteps to Recovery. And another big one is the voices you hear. And you'll know who those folks are if you sit in there very long. You'll know who those guys are. But the fellow I'm working with today, I met him right before Christmas. He's a nice guy. He's a religious guy. He has an addiction. But what had happened to him is that he's got a big heart. Too big. He's trying to help this guy. He thinks this guy's sick and he needs to get him to the hospital, blah, blah, blah. The guy keeps going to the bathroom and blah, blah. So he goes in to himself to get cleaned up, take a shower, and he put his wallet in his boot. Guess who was missing when he came out?
Yeah.
Then he realized this guy was just going in the bathroom to shoot up. Took everything he had. So what do we do with it? We bring it
You don't
in.
have lockers over there?
No. We don't have, we're not a night shift. So at 3 o'clock, they're out the door. We don't have any kind of facilities for that. We don't have a proper kitchen. We can't prepare food. We have some crock pots. And if somebody else brings food in, we're okay with that. But, we don't have triple sinks and all that stuff. We don't have any of that. We're not set up for that. So. But if we have someone in crisis, we know who to call. That's really all I've got, unless you have any more questions. I think I've worn up my 20 minutes.
Okay. Well,
Everybody got some of their business cards, so if you come across a homeless person, you can actually give them a card and say, here.
If you're a vet.
Yeah.
So the one thing before I forget, when they come in, we're going to try to determine their veteran status. Were you really a vet? And we've had a few that try to slip through or not. But we know the questions to ask.
14s.
DD-214, you have a VA medical card. If they've got a VA medical card, we're golden. If they got a 214 or, like me, I've got blue ID, and being retired, I did 29 and a half years. There's a lot of things we could do to determine real quick if they're really a vet. So that's the first question. Are you a veteran? If you are, here, you know these people, you'd be surprised how many of them do. But we get new ones every day. Every day, there's somebody new comes through that door. There was a number I forgot. Anybody know how many people, the percentage of the American population that ever puts on a uniform?
It's like 5%, isn't it? Something like that.
You know what the homeless vet population is in Oregon? 11%. It's a crime.
That's just wrong.
So, how does all of this relate to what you folks do in your neighborhood?
We probably see them all the time, they're probably down
Yeah,
by
me
Bell.
too.
yeah.
Have any of you had them camp in front of your house?
Not in front of our house yet.
Have you seen it in front of other people's
No, but
houses?
they've been lived in vacant homes,
Squatters.
Yeah.
squatters, in fact, they burnt down
Yeah.
I don't know if they were vets, but homeless people, the house over there, you guys know about the one around the corner?
Down the road, down the hill.
Better than it used to be.
No, it's like down 105th.
Is it Lexington?
It's like Lexington.
Lexington,
Was that
yeah.
that little cul-de-sac?
Those were just homeless.
That was homeless.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
We probably don't know any of the homeless well enough to know whether they're
Yeah.
veterans.
yeah,
I've
yeah.
had some folks.
We have not some.
Yeah, if you run into one of these folks that you feel comfortable asking, are you a veteran? And they'll usually tell you the truth. They will. Because they know that you're going to try to offer them something, and if they're not a vet, they know they're not going to get it. They don't want to go through that. But if they are a veteran, maybe we can find a way to get them out of your neighborhood. We deal with these folks that have serious social contact issues. They're rather antisocial.
Very, very politically correct.
Well, if Tina was here, you would hear a much harsher form of expletives.
Bless her heart.
Yes, she likes the F word a lot.
Those of us who live with them kind of
Yeah, she's
like it too.
she's a retired Army first sergeant, and she wants to take care of her troops. And her and I, in the Army, that's E8. I was E8 in the Air Force. We're on the same level that way. I just never had to sleep on the ground. I was always in a hotel. And people ask me, well, so why, Howie, did you join the Air Force?
because I scored high enough on the ASVAB test to have a choice. That's usually the answer I get. Okay, I'm gonna let you have your meeting,
All right.
and I'm gonna go home with my mama and eat. Yes, ma'am.
Howie, there's lots of food
Yeah,
over here.
we're glad to feed you, Howard.
Yeah.
All right.
Brian?
But first,
You're
This
right.
is your 15th hour.
One thing is, yesterday Comcast came to my house and I just started talking to this guy and he was a veteran. So I said, well, hey, here's some business cards. If you're talking to some other veterans, if they need some kind of help, here's a card to give to them. You never know where you're going to run into somebody that might know somebody. And Comcast, he was telling me over time, they have hired about 18,000 veterans. That's real high on their priority is to hire veterans. And they've got great benefits for them too. So I don't feel so bad about my huge bill every month.
Yeah, you're helping.
I'm indirectly helping the veterans.
That's right, indirectly.
Does anybody else want cards?
You watch movies now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cars, Pixar Cars 5000.
Thanks, Brian.
Do we need to dim the lights?
Unless you want to. That's true.
Yeah.
I'll be back in a minute.
You want me to go, or do we need a potty break for a minute, or?
Talk.
Thank you.
Okay.
Go for it.
We're not used to those amenities, so just.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
just go for it.
You've been where we've been meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to go through the bar to get to the restroom.
It's so close, I thought it would be. If you need the restroom, it's right here, it's the next door over.
That's pretty cool. I know, I love this place. Mod cons.
So, good evening, welcome to my house. This is my house. You're in my living room.
We're in your coffee shop.
So I'm Brian, I'm with the Community Connection Center. Most of you know that already, but this is the Community Connection Center. And let this be conversational, obviously. Stop me at any time, ask a question. Otherwise, I'll just keep going through this. But I wanted to talk a little bit about, we're meeting here for the first time. What is this place? What was the dream? Where is it now? Where is it going? That sort of thing. And I'll start off by saying the church, this is Mount Scott Church, and a couple of years ago they came to some pretty cool epiphanies or revelations, and one of them was we have this huge building, but like most churches, not all the rooms are getting used Monday through Friday. A lot of activity on Sunday, and rooms get used periodically throughout the week, but there's a lot of space that goes unused Monday through Friday. So 2 falls ago, the church did a survey to the neighborhood. In fact, does anybody here, if any of you got that survey from, okay, well, at least you guys.
I was just asking Stuart today what month that was and who it was. And
Yeah. So the reason for the survey was the church asking, hey, if we were to open up the church more to the neighborhood, for the neighborhood to use it during the week, what would you want to see here? And the church got back a lot of great responses, such as, how about some community center type of stuff? How about some community classes? How about some neighborhood events? How about a coffee shop? And the church said, okay, that sounds great. We like those ideas. And so that's my job, or at least that's about half of my job, is to help this church transition part of the building into becoming the community center. So I'm the director of it. I'm overseeing it. We're facilitating a lot of different changes around the building. It's a pretty big building. If you haven't ever walked around, I wish I had that one slide. So down this way is kind of the big round rotunda thing, right? Like you can see it from the street.
USS Enterprise.
The Enterprise, yeah. like the church sanctuary way down there. Okay, so that part will remain unchanged. That's kind of the church part, if you want to think of it that way. Down here, of course, here's this hallway right here to get to this room. And then on the other side of the building is another hallway. So there's these two long hallways. And what I'm leading up to is that side of the building where the other hallway is and all the other rooms are, that gets rented by the Slavic Academy. It's a school, Russian-speaking school. They rent out. So it's like the church part is about a third of the building, the school is about a third of the building, and then this side of the building, the hallway here, and there's a couple big classrooms or quads over here. So about this third of the building is the community center, or the community connection center, what we're calling it. So really, this is the fun part of my job. I get to transition this part of the building into community center. And depending on the day, the community center can actually use other parts of the building, and the church, sometimes uses this part of the building as well. But I was going to run through a few things on the website to kind of see where we've come so far, what we're doing, and what we have left to do, such as the space right here that we're in. This is the coffee shop. The neighborhood asked for a coffee shop. We all like that idea. So we just started last Sunday actually gutting this room. It used to be filled with a whole eclectic mix of wonderful 80s mismatched furniture and couches that was donated. And if you walked in, it makes you kind of want to...
It was a youth room.
It was a youth room, yeah. So I don't know about other people, like when I walk in, I kind of, like I wanted to throw up in my mouth, sort of thing. So don't tell anybody that. So we've got the room, we've started painting, we're in the very beginning stages of it. We've got a lot of work to do. But this right here would be the coffee shop. And actually let me say, it's gonna come in two phases. Let me give you first the version. The long-term version is this window right here is actually going to be a door, and there's going to be outdoor patio seating out here that's covered patio.
Cool, wow, cool.
One of the great things about the church that I love is the church is very much on board with the idea of we want the Community Connection Center and the coffee shop to feel like a neighborhood thing, not a church thing. So this is like the coffee shop. It's not going to be a church coffee shop, it's just a coffee shop. It's going to be high-end espresso. I'm going to be bringing it in. It's going to be a local Portland roaster with good equipment. But if people wanted to walk in to the coffee shop and not feel like they're going to a church, that's absolutely okay. They just come in through a separate door. And folks in the church know that some people, church gives them the hibby-jibbies. That's understandable. We don't want this thing to be a pressure thing to go, like we want people to go to the church. We don't want people to feel like they're being pressured into that sort of thing. So they can avoid church if they want to, just come to the Connection Center part, the Community Connection Center part, if that's what they want. So the church really wants to partner with the neighborhood in this whole thing. So this isn't, again, just a church thing. There are several folks in the neighborhood, such as you guys actually, that we're partnering with to do several different things. And we want it to be a neighborhood thing where we're all partnering together and not have it be a church thing where it prohibits them from coming in to think that they're coming to church or something. So that's kind of the overall philosophy thinking of that thing. So a separate door here, and long term, we might even take out this wall down here and extend the coffee shop all the way to the very end and put another door down there. So it might be one huge room with two entrances from the outside.
Then you'll be homeless.
And I'll be, yeah, my office is on the other side of that wall.
Put a futon on it.
Yeah. I'm the one actually saying, let's knock out this wall. I will gladly lose my office to make this a coffee
You'll
shop.
just be sitting in the coffee shop.
That'll be my office.
Everybody else does, why not you?
Right, yeah.
Hey, Here, just take your laptop, you can work wherever.
Yep, yeah. So I'll go through a couple of these other things too. This is, if you were to look on our Facebook page or our website, give you a lot of information. I'm just going to fly through stuff so you get kind of a feel of some of the thinking and the vision of this. Some folks in the neighborhood asked for events, like neighborhood type of events. And so we've actually done quite a few things, such as the Easter egg hunt and the neighborhood cleanup day. Actually, the church has been doing that for 7 years. Where, is that yours?
They had a yard sale.
This is, like the city gives us, what, 7 huge dumpsters for,
We pay the transportation fee to and from.
transportation fee, okay. So, neighborhood cleanup day, but we did several new things this year. Neighborhood yard sale, which, did any of you get? Well, yeah.
Yeah, Ryan.
Okay, let's turn on this side of the brain. Remember the truck you guys brought in. And National Night Out, many of you guys were here for that. We had Craft Day, we did Trunk or Treat. Parent Shopping Day was a bunch of parents dropped off their kids. We watched them and they went shopping.
See you there. That's cool.
Or actually,
Very cool.
they took a nap probably. We had a New Year's Eve game night. We had these we rented huge, like huge Connect 4 pieces, miniature golf.
Did somebody make those? Those were cool.
Well, somebody made them for the rental place. Yeah, they were handmade.
Yeah, those were really
It was awesome. Yeah.
They celebrated East Coast time, which made it even nicer.
Yeah, we celebrated at 9 p.m.
Yeah.
So
It was an early night.
9:30.
8:30 at my house.
We were thinking about it. It's like, no, we gotta at least stay.
I didn't care.
So a lot of people in the neighborhood asked for, can we do some community service stuff? And of course the church said, yeah, the church is already doing some community service stuff. So again, this is a partnership together. Of course, you guys know about Neighbor to Neighbor, which is the second Saturday of the month, so it's this Saturday. We're doing another Neighbor to Neighbor, where we go out in teams of 3 to 5 people out to different houses, mow lawns, build fences, whatever. Hi, Betty.
Oh, yep, there they are.
We've got a team that does some meal prep for one of the homeless shelters, actually the Clackamas Service Center, but they're going to start switching to the new one
The
down
one
the
down
hill,
here on 92nd.
DHFS, yeah.
Speaking of that, we do have a professional commercial kitchen over here. So thinking about the need tonight, if the community ever wanted to put together cooking teams, the kitchen's here. We just have to work it in with Brian on utilizing it.
Did you get one of their cards?
I did.
Yeah. I would suggest anybody who wants to go down there, call ahead and set up a time, especially when Howie's there.
Yeah.
And just take a tour around. You'll be really impressed with what they've done.
Mhm.
I know.
I mean, what are we doing? The other thing
Talk
that
about
he
the
didn't
Lents
talk
Fair.
about
I think
though
we're talking
is a
about the
lot of
Lents
these
Fair.
people
Yeah.
have service animals.
The Lents Fair, making stuff up for the Lents Fair.
Char, we've got somebody speaking. Can you?
You're grounded.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, what he didn't talk about is a lot of these people have service animals. So
yeah.
I got a hold of a veterinary supply company and they are going to be sending them flea control for dogs and cats. They counted up how many dogs and how many cats. Somebody even has a rabbit. And I don't know what you do about that. But they're going to, whenever they need it, they'll just contact this company and they're going to donate the flea control.
Oh, cool.
So, and anybody that's got, like leashes or warm coats or anything like that for pets that they're not going to use anymore, they can take them.
Cool. Real quickly, Neighbor to Neighbor, let me go back to that for just a second, because if you've never been a part of Neighbor to Neighbor, I would suggest coming to the second Saturday in February. It's a 1-year anniversary, and even you don't have to work. It's just an anniversary where we're going to share some stories of what's been happening, So you can learn a lot about it, see if maybe you want to jump in, if you haven't jumped in before, but that's February 9th for the 1-year celebration.
Are these posted on Nextdoor? Isn't this something that goes on Nextdoor?
I think that one is.
Yeah.
That one's on next
And
one.
it will be posted, I'll post it, you'll post it.
Yeah, I think I already posted one of them. I think it was this
That one
one.
is on there.
Yeah.
There's 3 people from the city coming to speak to us at this event, to what Neighbor to Neighbor has meant to them. Because they've only given us a few people. They've got so many needs, but we can't even step into them until we get a volunteer base way bigger than we are now.
So in keeping with community center sort of stuff, community asked for classes, and we're going to start doing some classes. So by classes, I mean yoga, a world religions class, music classes, art classes. I should slow down a little bit and say that the church is also selling some of its land, and the property developer has actually asked us to go slowly with a lot of the stuff, with the coffee shop and the community center. Because it's kind of intertwined with the property sale in that we want to make sure we're working with the city properly in order to set up everything, not just the sale of property, but the community center and the coffee shop.
The conditional use.
Conditional use permit in terms of what we can do, because we're obviously not zoned to be a community center or a coffee space. But we're also not trying to do that as well. We're not trying to be a standalone for-profit retail coffee shop or a standalone for-profit community center. We're trying to set up a nonprofit coffee shop as technically part of the church, which we're actually able to do. We just got to make sure that everyone's communicated with so they know what we're doing, basically.
And there's a lot of churches doing this, if you paid attention, and everybody's doing it in this gray zone.
Yeah, it's kind of a gray zone. We have to make sure that they know our business model, that it's nonprofit, it's not for-profit, it's not standalone business, blah, 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 blah. So it's kosher. But churches can run coffee shops in their churches, it's not. But our property developer is just a little bit sort of, they know that we're working with the city, so we're on their radar, so we need to make sure we're doing everything
Who
properly.
is the property developer?
Jerry Jones and Columbia Development.
Okay. Can you share their forecast?
What's that?
Can you share their forecast?
In terms of like timeline and stuff of, yeah, we actually, I'll just say something really quickly about it, but, because we actually have been holding meetings here for the neighborhood, and you can get on our list to come when we have updates. We do updates on the website and we do updates here. So I don't obviously want to go into a huge thing about it, but
No, I know.
yeah, but just in general, like it's in the application phase with the city at the moment, and timeline, we're hoping within a year or two that things are done for the most part up to the point that we would want them to be. So things like coffee shop, it might be a year before we're actually up and running, unfortunately. Coffee shop.
You just lost the audience.
Let's go, I'm turning out the lights. Yeah.
I'm already figuring out your plantings out here for your outdoor patio.
That's what's gonna pay for it. There is on our
plants are
website, though, you can look for the property link and it talks all about it.
That's great.
And it's
Thank
about
you.
18 lots will be going.
Yeah, a lot of the neighbors that I've been talking with, because I live like a block away from here,
Mhm.
they're kind of like saying it's gonna happen, it's just gonna happen. We want to know, but we don't want to know because it's gonna happen. And there's really nothing we can do about it, so I don't know how to get them over here to get them involved. I kind of had that feeling too, not to be a negative feeling, but it was just like, it's gonna happen. And the church needs, I think, probably something that, I've lived here 30 years, so I've lived in this neighborhood, walked my dogs
So have I.
for 30 years.
So
And so it's heart-wrenching
Yeah.
to see it go, But it's development, it is what it is, and I just kind of want to know the progression of it.
Nancy,
more
I'm
so.
just glad they're not putting pods. Have you seen the church down there on Powell where they're putting the tiny houses?
Oh, right on the corner
They've
of
got
the freeway.
trailers,
and Powell.
Trailers up the highway, you can see.
Oh my
What
gosh,
hell?
what a mess.
92nd and
205.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right
The
off
on-
205.
the on-ramp from
Oh,
Powell.
yeah,
When you
okay.
get on
Have you seen
905
that?
right at Powell, look up on
Okay.
the hill where that church.
That's
Right
what
next to
it
the
is.
motorcycle.
That's what the city wants the churches to do with their property.
The city is pushing churches to use their excess property to put
In that
little
manner.
You don't
Even
want
parking lots
to.
for
parking
Yes,
lots also.
yes.
Yeah.
That's a mess up.
So we're getting a better deal.
Okay, who's
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
make sure that would be the mayor.
Oh,
But you can talk to any of us too. You guys can
Sure.
come over and see any of us. and
Sure,
talk it
because
through.
I just, the neighbors that I talk to are just.
Oh, I know, I know.
We're actually
It's
not
a-
excited about it either, losing our property.
I
but
know, my dogs are just like crying.
We're not gonna get rid of all of it. We're gonna keep a lot of that green space back here too.
Good, that's what I kind of want to know that, sorry. Get it.
We're digressing.
Digress.
It's understandable. I thought it would be brought up by at least one or 30 people.
I had,
Part of it is a sustainability issue of,
yeah,
I mean, one of the many options we could do is just sell the whole property and move into a smaller facility or something like that, money-wise. But sustainability-wise, we think that the income generated from just a partial sale plus a remodeling of some things. The community center, a lot of what we want to do is free stuff for the community. But we also need some of it to cost something to help be sustainable. We need people to pay for coffee. We need the classes, for example, to come back on this. Classes will cost something just like a regular community center. Because I want the teachers of that to be paid. I want them to be experts in their field. I want them to be certified yoga instructors or whatever it is, and I want them to be paid. So classes, for example, will cost. The caveat to that is I'm always going to be looking for how can we do scholarships if somebody can't afford it? How can we do grants to help do? So don't think it's going to be like hugely expensive or something. I want the fee for classes to be reasonable, and I want to be able to get people in there even if they can't afford it. So there's a whole list of things like that. But so at the moment, part of the slowing down of this with our property developer is you'll notice we don't have any signs yet that say Community Connection Center. We don't have a sign that says coffee shop. So we're trying to do some things with the city first before we put the signage out there. Classes, we started offering some classes, but they're free at the moment. They're just by donation. So that's part of our slowing process. We've had some art classes recently.
Which are amazing.
Oh yeah, you guys came to
I
one.
saw you in
Yeah.
the picture.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're-
Yeah, we were in the one, the printmaking one, and then Rachel and Fox came and did the painting one, and the paintings are amazing.
Yeah, cool.
With the right tutelage. Your wife is obviously amazing. Great
She
teacher.
is.
Great teacher.
Yeah. We've got a guy who's gonna start offering some guitar lessons pretty soon. This is actually my daughter. She's getting going through certification for a yoga training class.
Free advertising.
Yeah. So she's going to start teaching a couple of yoga classes in February.
Anything for seniors?
I have to ask her. Yeah, I'm not totally sure how it works. She did say she wanted to do at least one class for kids as well, like a kids yoga, and then the other one was an adult. But I don't know how they she's the expert, not me. And I'll probably be offering a world religions class, which this is a non-biased look at all of the major world religions, rather than kind of pushing or emphasizing one or over the other. This is, let's take just a fun look at like the 10 most biggest world religions. We'll look at the positive and the negative side of every single religion on that list. So that's classes. Very quickly, I'll just mention we started doing bringing in artists, local artists, and rotating them through every couple of months. So when you're done, walk out in the lobby. There's a couple of big walls, and there's 2 artists on there. So So I'm rotating local Portland artists every 2 months. When the coffee shop is done, I want to rotate artists through the coffee shop as well. The lobby is kind of like a bridge between both places. It's kind of in the middle. So the church will use the lobby sometimes, but the community center can use it as well. Just depends on what day and time. So one of the ways that we I'll say parks. The church has always had a dog park, and people can walk their dogs. You know that. And there's always been an outdoor like play structures. But we just started this week the indoor kids park. So we're using one of the huge quad rooms in here. The church has a ton of kids' toys, so they're not being used. Like, come use them on Wednesdays. So that's every Wednesdays at 10 a.m. One of the ways, and that's free, by the way, like the park stuff is free, events are free, community service obviously is free. But things like rental, we also want to rent out the space, so that we need to help generate some income. We've had a few people start to rent the space in different ways. So there's a whole, there's pictures and a whole cost breakdown on the website for renting space here. This might take a couple of years, but we want to see if there's much interest for a community garden to be in the green space. Okay, quick poll, I'm seeing yes. In fact, this is good. How many of you, if there's a community garden, would you take a plot and actually do something with it?
Well, we put our whole yard in plot.
I was gonna say, you want part of my
Yeah,
garden?
these people have gardens in their house.
But we'll be very
That gets
happy.
into the dog park. The dog
If you're real interested in helping.
Yeah,
other
but this is
people
also
set
a
up
bigger
plots.
community too. If you put it out there, and
Yeah.
when people travel to Lents to do the Lents Park,
Yeah.
that's a beautiful, and they travel from all over the area.
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, I think that it's a good idea. I mean, we all have backyards, do we not
There's
all have
one on
backyards?
Southeast Division too that has a real nice community garden, actually on Clinton, right off of
Right,
Division.
yeah.
That has a real nice community garden, and that's always crowded, and, you know.
Oh, there's one
I think
down
you
on,
get
down on
lots of
39,
attention.
just
Yeah.
south of Holgate.
Yeah.
And providing they can get a water heater, because they just lost their access to water at the end of this last season. It's been down there for 25, 30 years.
Right on.
How do you have a garden?
And they apparently all are standing room only, people are waiting to
Yeah.
get spots. I don't know.
Okay.
So it probably, because we have all these people living in all these buildings now in downtown Lens who
With
don't have any
no
yards.
yard.
No yards.
So they need a place
No
to grow
yard.
their garden.
Yeah.
Well, when I
There was
walk
a
my
woman
dogs,
who
there are a lot of
contacted me
people
about
that-
doing a community
Uh-huh.
garden. I'll get her name if I can find her in my email, because she wanted to do one down where they're putting the new buildings. Crossville Portland isn't gonna let go of that land,
Yeah.
God, no.
but she wanted to do a community garden, so she'd be a
Yeah,
good
and a little
contact.
postage stamp plot that they have out on
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, I totally get it that, there's larger lots here and larger yards and that sort of thing. But don't take it completely off your radar yet, because one of the things that we're thinking is, would you be interested in a plot if it was something where you were maybe sold on the idea or the vision of coming in to do that to where you're growing food, organic food, to give to our homeless shelter or to give to the Clackamas Service. This is kind of a project of, can we grow healthy organic food to give away? So keep that on your radar. Even if you already have land, would you be willing to be a part of a group that?
Yeah, we're already working 60 hours a week with what we've got. We've got another 20 to come up.
Good. Yeah, that's the way I feel.
I've done it with a kerosene lamp and a flashlight, so
Yes.
I'm sure we can work something out.
Good. So that's coming in probably a year or two, hopefully. And then, of course, the coffee space. I really hope it's just several months before we get going. I hope it's not a year or two of backlogs with the city. Yeah, just go down to the mayor's office and
We know that David can brew coffee.
I don't know if the mayor's office would like to see us. We probably aren't the people you want to go visit the mayor.
But then again, it might be the people he wants to shut up and give them their way.
There is that. If you go with us, we can probably succeed.
He knows me.
Yes, he does.
Well, I'll say this, that we're starting with the remodel to where in the next month or two, I'm hoping that this room transforms to where at least there's comfy chairs, couches, there's tables. It's got a coffee shop feel, even though there's no espresso machine.
Are we gonna still be able to meet here?
Yeah,
Can we use the
absolutely.
space?
What I'm
Okay.
saying is it's going to look and feel a
Right.
lot more comfortable than
Right,
this
right.
mess right now.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a 2-drink minimum though.
Are you gonna have voodoo donuts?
Should we?
No.
Can you put that in the recommendation box? And
Yucky, yucky.
I like Krispy Kreme better.
Heavenly Donuts is so superstar. Oh, yeah.
Andy's?
I don't know.
Andy's. Okay.
So-
Never had Andy's.
Is there plumbing in this room, or is that going to be part of the remodel too?
Yeah, at some point, this room will shut down for hopefully not more than a week, but
So you
plumbing's
can-
not in the room.
Oh, it's right there, the
So
bathroom's
we're
right
probably
there.
gonna have
Yeah.
to dig a trench and extend the water lines from the bathroom into here.
Yeah, they're gonna make coffee.
All this stuff theoretically doesn't have to take a long time, but
Yeah, it
Yeah,
does.
it will.
It does.
but
Uh-huh.
you multiply everything by 3, and
Uh-huh,
it's, yeah.
yeah.
It's gonna take a week.
Yeah.
No, it's 3 years.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, no, this space can be used if LNLA, if we ever, even on a particular meeting, if there's just way too many people, we just hop over across the hall to one of the quads. You know, we've got 50 million of these chairs and it's a huge space. So we can meet in here for as long as we want. Lastly, I'll say, just because it's fun, we have our partners page, and oh, look, there's us. LA. So our other partner is the new family shelter down the road. So
How's that working out? Have they finished the other 4 units? So last I knew, they only had 4 units that were finished.
I don't
Do you know
know.
if the other 4
I
got
don't know,
finished?
because it's been a month since I've been
Yeah,
down
no,
there.
it's been a while.
Yeah. But they've been using our building, you know, we need to rent out some space for the most part for the community, but there's a few partners that, like, for them, we're just not gonna charge them money. They've been doing meetings here, training sessions, orientations, we wanna support them in that way. Same with our group, LNLA, I mean, we're part of the association too, so, but everyone else has to pay money, millions of dollars per
Good,
hour.
all right.
They actually did their big Christmas dinner up here too.
Yes, they did.
Yeah,
It was big.
yeah, they have an
Good.
annual Christmas meal where they've got presents that are donated for all the kids, it's just
Oh, I saw that
huge.
picture. That
Yeah,
was impressive,
Yeah.
very
It
impressive.
was fun to
Yeah, I bet.
volunteer. She can volunteer next year. There was a hoot helping out.
Yeah,
so I could keep talking forever, but just in general, there's a lot that we've done. We really, in 2018, that's when this stuff started ramping up. And we've done a lot in terms of events and offering free classes and renting stuff out, art gallery. So we've done a lot in 2018, but there's just more to come in the next year or two in terms of coffee shop, even more classes, even more community service stuff. So this is partnership. It's whoever wants to be a part of it. And it's been great because like these events, as we've been planning them, you guys and several other people, I say you guys, but it's like I'm part of you guys. So, we guys and you guys and neighbors out here living just several blocks away, they've been coming in to help plan this stuff, and that's what we want to see, because it's this neighborhood's thing. It's not just a church thing or just a this Mount Scott Hill thing, this is Lent's neighborhood kind of as a whole. It's for the neighborhood, so. Questions, any thoughts?
You guys
They're a
sharing
pair.
the wooden seat there?
Yeah.
You might want to update your location though.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I might want to change that address. We're not at Kingpins anymore, in case you
Hey,
didn't know.
Penny,
Oh, thank you.
was it the same tree David?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was.
But yeah, but you'll notice that we conveniently arranged it right and left.
Yeah, there you go.
Other thoughts, questions? Quick question for you guys. If we
Being paid.
Thank you,
if
Queen.
we build the coffee shop, will you come?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
yeah.
told you, I'm already planning where the plants are gonna be out here.
I know, I thought for a grand opening, we could do a big planter.
Yeah. Trout tolerant, minimum maintenance, but attracts butterflies and hummingbirds.
Okay.
And they're free.
Okay.
Find me a pot.
I'll find you a plot.
And Tony's
I'll
might
share with you
want
too.
to volunteer.
Volunteer, yeah.
Yeah, Tony's is
Tony's.
Oh, Tony.
Oh, yeah.
Garden Center. They're fantastic.
Julie and I have plants. We're looking to share them in
Nice.
Yeah, thin it out a little.
Oh, no, I'm
Yes.
looking to buy more. I've already got my wish list.
Of course, you've got
You have to get rid of
at
some,
least
get more.
3 square feet more than I have for putting new plants in.
Okay, is it time for Miss Nancy?
That would be me.
How about you?
Hi, I'm Nancy Shannon. Nice to meet all of you. But do you want me to sit? I'll sit here. I live in the neighborhood. I've lived in the neighborhood for 30 years. I've been a realtor for 30 years. And Cher has been my neighbor for that long, and I haven't known her for that long. But as I drive down the hill, I see this wonderful woman picking up the garbage with her husband, and I go, I gotta know that woman. So I got to know her that way. And we exchanged phone numbers, and we chatted a little bit, and got to know each other a little bit more. And so I thought it would be good for me to come, and I have some information if you guys want to, oh, that's mine. I gotta have my little cheat sheet. If you want to pass it around, here's some information for everybody. It's just general stuff and information about myself. What I wanted to say is I absolutely love this area. I've loved it forever. I've remodeled my home. I've raised my children here. They're now adults and I have a grandbaby, so they're on their way, and it's such a good community area. I'm so thrilled that this is happening. And I'm very appreciative of everything that you guys are doing. And my dogs are too. And my grandbaby comes over, can we go to field, Grandma? Grandma Nancy, can we go to field? Yes, so we come over here and play. But I wanted to just kind of put my name out there, put information out there. This is the time of year where people are kind of going, I'm on the fence, do I really want to sell? Am I thinking about it? What are we going to do? How do we do it? What's the next steps? What's going on with the interest rates? What's going on with the market? And so what I did is I compiled some information for all of you on a couple of sheets that we don't have to go over all the information, but on a couple of sheets to help you kind of have some information about how to proceed forward if you're thinking about selling, if you know of someone that's thinking about selling, if you, if it's something that's in your future. There's some good information here for you to fall back onto, and then also give me a call if you feel that that's something you'd like to do, is to fall back onto me. This morning, what I normally do is I reach out to my clientele on a regular basis and thank you, and ask them, how can I help you? What can I do to help you? I have a network of contractors that is very long. So what I do is if you need somebody that is remodeling any type of their home, that is prepping to sell, or just remodeling their home, let me know. I have contractors that will help you with that. Today I referred out a financial advisor. I also referred out a masseuse. I have, again, a network of things that I can help people with in the area.
Nancy,
And
can you help us with that house down the street on 105th that needs total rehab?
Zelma's old house?
Yes.
Zelma's old house?
Yes.
That's got somebody, that's on the market.
Oh, I know, but they're asking way too much.
Well, I can't do anything about that.
Yeah.
That's not something I can do anything. Once it's established price and the
Yeah.
sellers, but, and her daughter squatted there for years.
Oh, she did? Oh, yes, I know.
Yeah, her daughter squatted there for
Is it
years.
income?
It
Yeah.
is, it's for.
Yeah, so you gotta go through, that's nothing I can do about that.
Have you seen the pictures of that inside there?
No, I didn't look it up, I should look it up.
You should look it up.
I didn't look it up.
It needs to be
I
guided.
never went in there. I know her grandson, which was Corey, and Corey was just the sweetest. He grew up with my children.
Uh-huh.
So I knew Corey, and then Joey lives across the street, which is one of Corey's best friends. I know all the kids.
Yeah, so do we.
Yeah.
But to answer that question, I think what will happen, Char, is that eventually the price, with this current market that we're in, is a very exploratory market that we're in for pricing, to be very blunt. It's not put the house on the market 10%, 15% above the price of the house that sold a month ago.
Yeah.
It's not that, it's leveled out, it's shifting. We're in single digit appreciation, and in the Portland metropolitan area in Southeast Portland, we're at 5.3% per annum increase. And that's in the whole Southeast Portland area. So Mount Scott, I can't tell you exactly the stats on
You need to
that.
find somebody who wants to buy it and rehab it. I
You
just
know
don't
what,
want it to
there's
become a
lots of rehabbers
slaughterhouse.
out there, it's pretty bad shape.
Oh, I know it is, it needs to be gutted.
Really bad shape. In fact,
Yeah.
Corey said that there were rats climbing
Oh, I
out
believe
of
it.
the walls.
Oh, I believe
That's
it.
nothing unusual.
Or, not for my house.
That's kind of
That's
They may not be in your house, but they're around your
No,
house.
there's mine, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, my
They're in
animals,
your
my
backyard.
cats gift me all the time, yeah, the field. Oh yeah, I have the creek where it's the territorial runoff.
There is no one here who doesn't have rats.
Yeah.
They may not see them.
I have the most.
But, well, I don't know. I'm close to, I know, wait a minute. You're across the street from West Block. You
Yeah.
probably haven't.
And you have a list of developers, right?
I have not a list of developers, I have contractors that I work with, that
Where are
I
you gonna
network
go?
with.
Where are you gonna go?
I'll be one of these homeless people.
You're gonna go to Washington. Where are you gonna go?
Maybe. Maybe. My brother's moving.
Why don't you talk to me after the meeting?
Well, I'm not ready. My son retires in a year, and then we're gonna.
Okay, well, you've got my information. Well, that's what I'm here for, is to give everybody my information so that you have it. I know the neighborhood, I know Southeast Portland, I've been selling real estate for 30 years. But this top sheet for you guys, the seller's tips, is simply home improvements to help you sell quickly. Now, quickly is a question mark now in this current market. And then it's really wonderful. The thing is, what I do with my clientele, and it's very important for me to do this with my clientele, is to sit down and to talk with them about their expectations, about what they want to do with their house, how they want to price it, what's realistic, the time frame that they're going to want to be selling in. All of those things need to be asked and answered. And so that's what I do. But this is one thing, this top sheet I think is so informational, and just things that you can start now if you're thinking about it, because you know, you usually can't get to everything overnight, and honey to-do list doesn't get happened overnight. It usually takes, I usually prep my clientele probably, if I've got a grace period, at least 2 weeks to 3 weeks to even 30 days to prep them before their house gets on the market. So that they then in turn will have what the buyers feel is appealing at a market value, so that we will then forgive me, push the other houses out of the picture and place their house in a very favorable situation. So this is what this sheet does. This sheet helps you prep your home and give you time. Give yourselves time, allow yourselves, you know, things to get done, the honey to-do list.
Thanks, guys. We got a lot of my house.
Yeah, we've already prepped her house, it's ready.
Oh, okay. Great. Are you
I'm
ready
not
to
going
sell?
anywhere.
Okay. And then this last sheet over here is a sheet that talks about, which is Total Market Overview Report. It's very good. It's recent. Keller Williams, which I've been a broker with since being 30 years in the business. I've been a broker with a couple of different brokerages, just not with Keller Williams, but I've been with them for 6 years now. I was with Hassan before that. I was with John L. Scott. I don't switch around 30 years. That's not a lot of brokerages to go to for 30 years. But this sheet, this Total Market Overview Report, is so essential to show you days on market. Days on market are very important right now. This is a slower, not real slow, but a slower shifting seller's market, meaning that there is more time on market. Sometimes you have to discover the price of the home, even if you have comparables that are exact to what the house is liking, being like-for-like house. It just depends on what the buyers choose to have be their home at that time and the value that they choose to pay for that property at that time on that day. That's what market is. It could be a seller's market, it could be a buyer's market. That's what market is. It's what the buyers are choosing to purchase that house for that day, in that condition, in that market.
Is it still shop worn after 2 weeks?
It is, what the first 3 weeks of house on market is your most important. Most important, no matter what market you're in. It's the most important. And shop worn is somewhat of it's a good term, and I appreciate you sharing that with me. But what it is that buyers, what they want to do is, nowadays they're able to take a little bit longer time to go evaluate homes, step into the home. Before they stepped into the home about, oh gosh, I don't know, about 4 years ago. 3 years ago, they stepped into a home, 2 years ago even, and they were not allowed to have the time to evaluate where they were going to live. And now they are. Now they're able to, and everyone will become a buyer. They'll become a seller, and then they'll become a buyer. And now they're allowed to have that time to evaluate the home, so they really do. They really do. So that's where we're getting to the point where the presentation, that's where this is really important, the presentation of the home and the evaluation of the pricing of the home and getting the expectations met for the seller and then for the buyer up front is so essential. And that's what I do. That's what I do. Anybody have any questions? Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Everybody have my contact information. Reach out to me if you have more questions again, and if you need any referrals about anything, I'm here. And thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so now we move on to our discussion of West Rock. Did they reach out to us? Is that how this all began?
Renee, it was all Renee.
It was all fault.
It was all Renee.
I'm the culprit.
So, David, I believe it was the LNA.
This is a whole other thing.
Oh, it's never. It's their fault. West Rock Recycling.
West Rock has had a
Okay.
contentious relationship with their neighbors because they make such a mess.
Yes, back
They
there.
make such a
Right there.
mess of the
Down
neighborhood.
Down the
Yeah,
hill.
down
Okay. Thank you.
Foster.
Yeah, like in the area of 100th and Woodstock Court and Southeast Woodstock.
Okay.
There's a map.
And,
Where the fires are?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, thank you.
yeah, that's it.
That's West Rock.
Well,
So on a windy day, they have plastic and garbage that blows throughout the neighborhood, and they would like to hire our organization if we choose to do the work for them as a way of a fundraiser for us to pick up the trash. And it's all going to depend on whether we as a group decide we want to do it and whether we have enough manpower to commit to doing it. We're going to do it. I'm going to go over the.
I will go over the stats.
I think that
Because
might
I've
be the
talked to
right way.
Wayne Jackson, we're committing to do it 4 times a month, once a week. Now, some people are available during the week, so we want to do 2 times during the week and 2 times on the weekend, so we can work around people's schedule. So I need to get feedback from people before we commit to this, because I've talked to Wayne several times now, he's all gung ho. He's ready to send us a check.
Does he seem okay to communicate with?
Oh, yeah, no, I have a name, so I'm communicating
He
with
was over
him.
picking up my driveway, my request.
Well, there you go.
It was exempt until
There you
I
go.
had a come to
So,
Jesus meeting with
We
him.
came to an amount, $693.28 a month, a month.
Well, it's because
It's based
it's so
on
much.
4.3, it was 160 a week, right?
That's what I thought.
Okay, so he took that times 4.33 whatever, because that's how many.
Because there are 4 1/3 weeks in a month.
Got
Right,
it,
so
okay.
he came up with 693
Okay,
a
we'll take it.
month,
We'll
a
take it.
month. We just need to get a commitment from members. Somebody will come out, because I'm looking to 4 or 5 people for 2 hours. Hopefully it wouldn't take any more than 2 hours to do this area.
Yeah, this is the.
This is the area
So
I
it's
get
the-
What, Char, what are we doing?
picking up
Picking
the
up
loose
trash.
trash that blows out of their area.
Community service.
So, and it
Community
flows where? Where does it?
Exactly what.
Show
Right
right
right there.
You can show Nancy the map.
Okay, there's West Rock,
Yeah,
are they disposing
there's you.
That's my house.
Yeah.
they are going to be providing bags.
Oh, gosh, I got this right
And
in your
100.
house.
All we need to do is go around and pick it up.
That's a nice monthly.
Right, and that's what I'm thinking, it gives us more money to do more of these
That's
things.
you can find out the.
Yeah.
Hard work for the
Right,
6 of
the
us.
light's
So,
right here.
well, one
There
thing
is
Char is
no
gonna do.
turn here off the
Is-
house.
Char is gonna reach out and try to
But they
find
do
us
it
some more
anyway.
ways.
Yeah, they do it
65-foot
anyway.
rakes.
Of
That's
the people
my-
that have community
And
service,
they had to chase them.
maybe through the
Well,
schools.
the school,
No,
yeah,
no
the school.
truck sign
Unless you
here,
got
no
community
truck sign
service
here.
people.
Yeah.
But they
Yeah.
still come
Okay.
into the
Yeah.
neighborhood.
Char's
But the
got
garbage blows.
as
Right now,
usual.
they
As
just have to
usual,
come to
yeah.
Char
Yeah, 'cause
and
don't they-
stand.
What
But
about
it blows
somebody who
like
has to
this.
do community service?
Well, that's what I just said. That's what I just said.
To my home.
That's what I just said, yes, people that have.
You got murder, rape, and get up there. They get to work on the weekends with Cliff. People that can relate. Cliff, are you gonna bring your county certified
We moved here.
grabber?
in 1980.
Absolutely.
That was,
They didn't even erect buildings.
So just to clarify,
Go ahead, David, just to clarify.
David's trying to
what this
clarify.
money will do is put money in our bank account that allows us to go out and do the things that
It's called
that we want to do.
David's retirement fund.
No, he's got a
You know,
big-
instead of hitting you guys up for donations, which is where most of our money has come from, we thought we could bring in some outside money to do things like, you know, build stairs for a front porch, or,
Yeah,
you know, do a little.
Put a ramp up for an
kitchen
80-year-old.
Put a ramp up for an 80-year-old man. We have
Yeah.
one of
is that,
those
is
out
that
there.
still on hold?
it's still out there.
It's still waiting for me to go make it
So
happen.
looking at your foot, you might need a ramp. Just throwing it out there.
Hey, I have a scooter for sale. I'm not kidding you. It's a 3-wheeler and it's red and it just rocks.
Well, retail
Don't
red there.
encourage him, Renee.
Oh, I gotta
It's,
Is that a basket? I can
he
go
wants the
grocery
map.
shopping.
Oh,
He
the
wants the
man?
map. I don't know, it's supposed to be-
Well, where'd it go?
Oh, it's over there.
It's over there. It's going around.
It got
He's
passed
got it.
around.
Yeah, see,
Hand it that
your
way.
Where's
dad
the
got it
name?
for you.
Your son.
Fox is over there.
You don't need a map?
So if everyone's looked at the map, you just have to think about it. You
Wants
can
to be
email us.
involved.
If
Yeah.
anyone wants to volunteer for our little project, email us, tell us what day you're
Julie will take
available.
care of it.
I'll be out
So-
there every time,
So
so.
I guess the first thing is, because we're a consensus organization, do you want to do this? Is there anyone that, you know, if you don't agree to do it, speak now?
Or forever hold your peace.
Yeah.
And it's not a permanent thing. I told them we'd try it,
10 years?
see how it would go. Oh, no, it could be a week.
Yeah. No,
I told them we'd try it and
it's
see
week
how
by
it
week.
ran.
Is there any harm that could happen to us? I mean, is there anything?
No.
Okay.
It's just going around the
Just
street and
asking.
taking up trash.
A garbage bag and a grabber and gloves. There's
Kind of the
always
same
going to
thing
be one
with
of us that
Sharps all
has a
the time.
Sharps container.
Yeah, I
Some
know.
of us have
I know
Sharps
your
containers,
Yeah.
and there's not that many Sharps out there. I walk
No.
that every morning. Well,
Okay.
normally I
I
walk
know
that
it is.
every
Yeah.
morning.
We went down and
And it's just garbage that's blown out of the garbage trucks
Yeah.
and blown out of their storage bins.
Okay.
It's just, well, they're gonna put a
What's your,
14-foot high steel
They are.
wall.
Yes, they are.
But it's
They're
only
hard.
gonna be,
Yeah.
What's your
Yes.
time
Less
commitment,
than
like
half
per
of
day
the
or
length.
which?
it's,
I say no more than 2 hours, because with 4 or 5 people, it shouldn't take us, if you saw the map, you see
Yeah.
the area, it's
Yeah.
not
It's
that
just
big of
a few
area.
blocks.
Yeah, I was just
It's
curious.
not that big of
That will
area.
help me decide if I.
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
so it's
Yeah.
not, it's 2 hours for two,
Yeah.
3, 4
Sure.
people would be lovely. to do.
Oh,
Well, I mean, you know that.
Playing on skateboards, would you?
If you can come out and just do your
So
thing.
no, if you talk, so it's useful,
Yeah.
I have already the forms. If they just need to do community service, I know when Sebastian was going to regular school, he had to do community service. And they can get credit out of it, you can get it already. Yeah, let's have a great contract. I still tell them that we let me contact the one that can,
Coming right
It's
up.
good exercise and it makes you feel happy.
Okay, so I take it,
Are we gonna see it Saturday?
since we
I live
heard
down there.
nothing
And
negative.
yeah,
that we
and
have
she
to
and
say.
She and I are from there.
Just to get it out there, I take it we have consensus to do this. Debbie?
oh,
We have consensus, so we're going to go forward with this, and Char will be looking for people to sign up. She'll get a schedule out
Yeah,
there,
that'd be good schedule.
and
Yeah.
we'll take it from there.
Cool.
And, if it doesn't work out, we'll end it. If we can't get volunteers enough to do it, we'll end it, and we'll find money elsewhere.
Well, the
yeah.
same old faces will be there, but
Yeah.
it's sure to be nice to see some new faces.
It will. I truly.
Well, you know, they claim they send a crew out every single day.
They don't.
I live there.
Yeah,
They're invisible.
You
Yeah.
never see a
It's
crew
I,
out.
well, that's what
During
they're
your
working
nap
on.
hour.
That's right.
But I
They'll have
keep
people
my-
out there with orange,
Are they gonna supply the bags?
Yeah.
yes,
The
bags.
bags, and they
Throw over a fence?
And they are going to dispose of
And
it.
they're
Yes.
disposing of it,
Yes.
yeah.
They might have a specific drop-off area.
Yeah.
They don't.
We'll work that out.
That's-
But anyway, so now I told Zeke if we have time, I don't know what time it is, what time is it?
We're 8:14, we're good.
I told Zeke he could talk about the net team if anybody's interested in that.
Oh, net
Neighborhood
team.
emergency.
Yeah, and that,
Oh, yeah.
that could be extremely, it's, I don't know if I don't like the connotations of go sit in the
Gonna
chair.
talk about it, okay?
No. Yeah, so this is something, so the neighborhood emergency team is part of Portland Bureau of Emergency Management, it's a volunteer deal. You have to go through a training so that you can be certified enough that they can give you your indemnification if you're out doing related items that you've been trained to do. But basically, what the idea is to build neighborhood resiliency so that if we do have a major catastrophe, earthquake, tornado, flood, all these things could happen, or even for other things they use this quite often, that people are trained up and there's continuing education and continuing training available quite often. That we have people in our neighborhood that can group together as a team, go look out after our neighbors, and be prepared to give that information to the Incident Command Center, which would be at P-Bend, that's over here on 111th and Bush, I think, right by the TriMet is where their main command station is. We use a series of radios, family radios, regular walkie-talkies for inter-neighborhood communication as a team. We designate team leaders, scribes. We do light search and rescue. We do not endanger ourselves, and we always go out as at least a 2-person team. So that's why it's somewhat essential to have some community members. Up here, I think there's one other person up here that is an ed or
We did
interested.
it,
Yeah.
I did it with my neighbors, there was 5 of us that did it like 15 years
Sure,
ago.
sure. And-
Sharon,
yeah.
remember, I don't know, you never.
No,
Maybe
I've been
Sharon.
here 15 years, over on 104th, but
Yeah.
the nets thing I've only been doing for about 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, we did.
Isn't the guy on Rex on the
15,
corner in
20.
the cabin, isn't he on that team?
Me, Robert?
It's a possibility.
Robert.
We have lists, but it's kind
Robert's
of,
your team leader.
we don't really, that's Robert Schultz.
Oh, that's Robert Schultz.
But yeah, so
Robert
the,
Zellen.
right now the team is, I think, about 6 or 7 people, and it's really spread over the whole of Lents. There's 20,000 people in Lents,
Yeah.
plus or minus.
Yeah.
So, and it's a huge area too. My dad lives up across the street from Lents Park. I live up here. You know, everybody's pretty spread out. So it would always help to have people that are at least aware of it, because we can, if we did have an emergency event, we can take on spontaneous volunteers that can help, you know, make light of certain work that we need to do. But it is, it's a volunteer deal. It is a good organization if you've got some time to dedicate to it. But it also ties in really well, I feel like, with the community connection, the neighbor to neighbor. We already went and met with PBEM down there to see if they wanted to throw some net volunteers at some of the work. And I think that meeting went favorably. But it's just another organization that's out there if you want to build some resiliency, maybe get yourself a home kit so that you have anywhere from 2 days to 2 weeks worth of supplies. We work with Portland Fire Department pretty regularly for a lot of the training. And that's actually part of the final training when you go through it, is that you do an exercise where you go in and you practice lifting concrete slabs and putting out fires and stuff like that. There's knot tying, it's like Boy Scouts for adults. Yeah, but it's a pretty, it's fun, and it doesn't require a whole lot of, you know, beyond the initial training. But it's just a good thing to have people. I would say if you don't want to be a net, at least make sure you're talking to your neighbors about who needs help, who's gonna, you know, who's the worst case scenario if your neighborhood needs something, if we do have an earthquake or something, which that's always the biggest thing, is the earthquake that, you know, everybody talks about, to see what these homes and or church or whatever buildings around here would sustain. But yeah.
So do we just get a hold of you?
That is absolutely a possibility, or I could share some information that we could put on a website possibly. I don't know if Community Connection website. And I'll get Robert all that stuff. We just kind of hired a few new people for PBEM that are taking care of that, so we've got more resources. But just wanted to throw that out there. We're going to have something coming up soon here where we will have a more at-length discussion with some handouts and stuff, and we'll cover everything again, I'm sure, but invite more of the community members. This is first blush.
So what's the time commitment to become a member?
I think depending on, I went through a 2-day, about 9-hour day, like a Saturday, Sunday. There is one that's broken up over like 3 or 4 days, so it might be 3 or 4 hours over the course of a couple of weeks. And really all that is, so what you go through in that is you go through radio usage, disaster psychology, kind of helping people deal with, you know, oh my gosh, things are completely different right now. I can't turn on the water, I can't flip on the light switch. Light search and rescue, first aid, that type of stuff. And it's all, you know, it's pretty topical. But there are opportunities to go into other things, like wilderness first aid. I've taken that class, which is really good. If you spend any time out in the woods to be like, nobody's going to be here for 4 days, what do I do with this person? But yeah, it's about that. I'd say like maybe 18-ish hours of initial, and then I think they ask for like 12 hours a year of volunteer time, which can be doing classes or being deployed. Or going to your meetings even. We have a meeting once a month. Right now ours is on the 3rd Sunday. And we are kind of in limbo for a spot, so I know I've pinged you before. And we also, so we get called out by the Portland Fire Department sometimes too for down power lines. And there's training for that's done by PGE, and they tell you how far away to stay, what to do, what not to do. So sometimes they'll deploy us on a windy night. If a line goes down, they'll say, anybody in this area, if you can deploy, go there, log your hours, get your volunteer hours done, and you keep people away from that high energy line that's on the ground. So we also volunteer like at the Rose Parade, at the Portland Marathon, all kinds of street fairs. They always say, hey, can anybody do a table? Show what we do, or do even first aid. You don't even have to be certified most of the time. It's just boo-boo care, Band-Aids and stuff, at the Rose Parade and the Portland Marathon. So there's a lot of opportunities to do stuff. Just depends on how much time you have, and I know everybody here is volunteer-minded anyway, so I don't want to stretch that too thin, but it's just something to look into. If nothing else, you can peruse the website. I think it's at oregon.gov. If you just look up Portland Net, N-E-T, it'll take you to that website and you can read more about it. Just throwing that out there for everybody for awareness as our community. Yes?
Could you come up with a very concise list of the basic stuff I've been doing for about 10 years now? And I got a lot of the survival food that's good for 25 years.
Sure.
Unless the rats get into it.
That's true.
They love it.
Buckets are good.
Well, what I did is I had an old freezer, and
Yeah.
I unplugged it, and I put everything in that.
Absolutely.
I don't think they can get to that.
Yeah, no, there's
But like having extra water and
yeah,
pressure
and how much
medications,
and stuff. Yeah,
pet food,
Yep.
always worry about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Reading glasses.
Something as simple as I was getting this canned stuff and all this stuff, and one day I realized I only have an electric can opener.
The old P95.
Well, yeah, I have one of those.
Yeah.
So just, real simple things that
Absolutely.
you don't always think about.
Yeah, no, and there are multiple. I mean, you can almost go anywhere and find a good list. Red Cross does put out something that's a real good first list, and there are also some videos as well, guides to making your own toilet with your recycle bins, which they will pick up.
I was gonna say, can't we just ask the neighbors down the street?
Yeah. We might do it a little better. If we got training, but yeah, no, there's a lot of stuff out there, and without, I was it's a real timid thing to talk about because people go, oh, prepping and stuff, but being prepared is one thing. Anybody can go to the extreme on anything, if you like basket weaving, you can go nuts with it, but I think it's just important for people to understand what kind of timeline they may be without utilities, and the fact that maybe nobody's coming unless we set this up to where we get a hold of, critical issues. And that's really what it's set up to do, is to say, we've got some people that are critical, so here's a hot spot, we need somebody to come help us. And it ties right into the Beacon program, which is the basic earthquake emergency communication node, which that site is actually up at the top of the hill at the cemetery headquarters up here. Not the national one, but the one on the other side of the street. That is also a radio program and an easy up and some first aid, and we communicate directly with ham radios with the fire department down in Foster, and the one in Lents is secondary. So the nets will be more communicating amongst themselves, doing disaster reports, keeping there's a lot of paperwork to it just so that everything is documented. But walking through the neighborhood, seeing what houses are in what shape, checking on our resources, any kind of stores or anything like that could be a resource for people. A church could be a resource for people if this is a community place to meet up. So if you just look on that PBEM site, there's a lot of information there. And just peruse it, and I'll try and get some more information together for when we actually have that community meeting, to where we can, have some handouts, have some lists, and just everybody can assess where they're at. So
to back up, just to further say what you're saying, the first annual celebration, Neighbor to Neighbor, on February 9th, I was talking about. The director of PBEM, Portland Bureau of Emergency Management, is going to be there as well. Would love it if all of you guys are there, because we're all part of Neighbor and Neighbor. But Stuart, who heads up Neighbor and Neighbor, he and I went and talked with PBEM, and Jeremy, who's the director, really likes what we're doing, Neighbor to Neighbor, and wants to expand that citywide with the Nets teams. And like, these are volunteers that are training to be ready for emergencies, but when there's no emergencies, they still want them to like do things and train. And this stuff just adds into the whole idea of community resilience, where we're not able to survive natural disasters very well if we don't know each other. But the more we know each other and we're helping each other, well, then when a disaster strikes, we know who to go to and who has needs and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So that neighbor thing, like, come to that on February 9th. But then just kind of further backing up, Zeke and I have been talking about this, that we would love to do a kind of a community resilience meeting here for the entire Lents neighborhood, and have it be kind of a big, almost a workshop thing of like, what is the PBM, what is the Nets team, how do you survive a natural disaster, but then also how do you get to know your neighbors? So we want like LNLA to speak at this workshop thing. Like there's a neighborhood association piece, there's a community resilience piece, there's a natural disaster piece, there's a community center piece, so that we're kind of all, like, we're all kind of interconnected anyways, but like, let's come together and do something maybe in the spring where we're inviting all the pieces and parts to kind of speak a little bit. And you guys are speaking a little bit, and Zeke is speaking a little bit, and Stuart's speaking a little bit. So
Just got volunteered.
know that's coming, and we would love to do that. So
Yeah, and not so much as like adding more to anybody's plate, but just to show the connection of the dots, where we can all do our own little part, and that affects every other part of the organism. So we're all just helping each other, really.
Did that email list help you? Okay, good.
It's dated a little bit. I
Oh, I know, I told
I got
you.
another list I'm gonna talk to you
Yeah,
about.
no, I knew it was.
Thank you.
Thank you, Zeke.
Thanks, Zeke.
Anybody?
Anything else?
Thank you all.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Good evening.
All right, we go
See you Saturday.
Thank you, guys.
Saturday.